Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where we take the sources you send us, often complex ones, and really dig in to pull out the key ideas, hopefully making them clear and, engaging.
We try to cut through the noise for you, the learner, who wants that deep knowledge but without getting totally swamped.
Exactly. And today, we're diving into something ancient. We've got excerpts from a Pali text called the Cakkhupāla Theravada, which one of you shared.
That's right. Our goal here is to shed some light on, well, some really core ideas presented in this old story.
So the story itself, it follows a monk, Mahapala. Is that right?
Mahapala, yes. He ordained later in life, spent 5 years training, and then went to the Buddha.
Okay, so he's done his initial time, 5 years with his teachers.
Yeah.
And then he goes straight to the top, to the Buddha himself.
Yep. And asks a very direct question. Basically, what are the duties here in this whole system, this dispensation, as the text calls it?
Right. How many duties are there? I mean, that's pretty bold. It makes you wonder, okay, what are the absolute fundamentals if you had to boil it down?
And the Buddha's answer is incredibly concise. He says there are 2 duties. That's it.
2. Okay, what are they?
He calls them the duty of study, that's Gantadhura, and the duty of insight, Vipassanadhura.
Gantadhura and Vipassanadhura. Study and insight. Okay, that immediately makes you ask, well, what do those actually mean? What's involved in each? Sounds like a crossroads.
It really is a fundamental distinction. So
Right.
the duty of study, Gantadhura explains it, involves learning his teachings,
Yeah.
and not just casually.
Right, not just skimming.
No, the text says 1 or 2 sections or even the whole 3 baskets comprising the Buddha's word.
The whole 3 baskets. Whoa. Okay, that's the Tipitaka. Right, the big collection.
Exactly. The Tipitaka, you've got the Vinaya, which is all the monastic rules, like 5 parts to that.
Okay.
Then the Sutta, the discourses, which itself has 5 big sections, Digha Nikaya, Majjhima Nikaya, and the others.
Sayutta, Ogattara, Tudaka, Nikaya. Yeah, that's a lot of material.
A huge amount. And then there's the Abhidhamma, this sort of higher philosophy and psychology, another 7 texts.
Wow. Okay, so the duty of study could be, well, a lifetime's work in itself.
Easily. And it's not just passive learning. The text emphasizes carrying on, discussing, speaking on what has been learned, according to your own wisdom.
So it's active. You learn it, you digest it, you talk about it. That probably resonates with you, our listener, that idea of structured learning and really engaging with the material.
It's about making the knowledge yours and being able to share it.
Okay, so that's study. What about the other path? The duty of insight? Vipassanadhura. That sounds different. More internal, maybe?
That's a good way to put it. The text defines this duty simply as gaining a Arahandship, the ultimate goal.
Arahandship. Okay. And how?
It emphasizes things like light duties, so fewer external responsibilities.
Right.
Delighting in a secluded abode, so seeking solitude, and being firmly established in the mind, the waste and decay of their being.
Okay. Waste and decay of their being. That sounds like deep contemplation on impermanence, on the nature of reality itself.
Exactly. It's about seeing things as they really are, directly. The method is bringing insight to maturity through the power of constant application.
Constant application. So meditation, basically. Continuous practice.
Continuous, dedicated meditative practice aimed at direct experiential realization. So, yeah, a very different feel from the duty of study, which is more about, let's say, intellectual grasp and discussion.
2 really distinct approaches.
Yeah.
Study versus direct insight practice.
Yeah.
Though I suppose they could feed into each other.
Oh, absolutely. You could argue a good grounding in study helps guide the insight, and profound insight might make you understand the texts differently. They aren't necessarily, walled off forever.
Makes sense. So, Mahapala, the guy who asked the question, faced with these 2 paths, what does he do?
Well, he's very honest. He looks at himself, considers his age. Remember, he ordained later in life. And he says, basically, look, I'm too old. I don't think I can fulfill the duty of study, that huge learning task.
Okay, fair enough. Acknowledging his limits.
But then he says, the duty of insight, however, I shall bring to fulfillment. He commits fully to that path.
Wow. Real determination there.
And then he asks the Buddha directly, please teach me a meditation subject, a kamā'ana.
A kamā'ana, that's like a specific meditation technique tailored for him.
Exactly. A specific focus for his practice. And the text just says the teacher taught him a meditation subject leading to arahantship, personalized guidance.
Okay, so he's got his marching orders, his focus for insight. What's the next step? Does he go off alone?
Actually, no. He gathers 60 other monks to travel with him, quite a group,
Oh, it's 2 months. Okay.
and they travel a long way, 120 yushanas. A yojana is an old measure of distance, maybe several miles. Point is, it was a significant journey
Definitely sounds like it. Where are they headed?
to a great border town. When they get there, they settle into the routine. Mahapala leads them into town for alms rounds.
And how are they received? Are people welcoming?
Very. The text mentions their perfect behavior really impresses the local people.
Ah, conduct matters.
Big time. People offer them seats, serve them food and drink, and then they ask the monks about their plans, especially for the upcoming rainy season retreat.
The Vasa, the 3-month retreat.
Right.
Yeah. The monks say they're looking for a comfortable place to spend it. And the locals, described as wise people, understand immediately.
They get what the monks need for this intensive period.
Totally. They invite the whole group, all 60-plus Mahapala, to stay for the full 3 months. They even promise to deepen their own practice, saying they'll take the precepts and establish ourselves in the refuges.
That's amazing. So the lay community sees an opportunity for their own spiritual growth by supporting the monks. It's presented as this really positive, symbiotic relationship. The monks accept, thinking that relying on these supportive families will help their own efforts to, as the text puts it, make an escape from becoming, reach liberation.
Powerful phrasing. Escape from becoming.
Isn't it? So the community gets busy. They prepare a dwelling, sort out places for the monks to stay during the day and night, and offer it all to them. The daily alms round continues.
It sounds like a very supportive setup. And wasn't there something about a doctor?
Oh, right. Yes. A local doctor approaches them and says, essentially, hey, there are a lot of you living together. If anyone gets sick during the retreat, just let me know. I'll help. A really thoughtful offer.
Very community-minded. Okay, so the retreat begins. 60 monks focused on practice, supported by the village. What happens then?
Well, the elder of the group, who we assume is Mahapala, though he's just called the elder here, takes charge at the start of the rains.
Okay.
He gathers the monks and asks them, all right, how are you planning to spend these 3 months? What's the practice plan?
Setting the tone, and what do they say?
They reply, basically, that they'll practice in the 4 postures.
Standing, sitting, walking, lying down, the standard activities.
Yeah, the normal range. But the elder isn't quite satisfied. He pushes back a bit. He asks if that's really proper for this intensive time. He stresses the need for vigilance.
He wants them to ramp it up. Why? What's his reasoning?
He reminds them they received their meditation subject from a living Buddha, and such a teacher isn't pleased by, slacking off. He's pleased by diligent effort, by a beautiful disposition.
Okay, so he's appealing to their connection to the source.
And then he gives a pretty stark warning. He says, for one who is negligent, the 4 states of loss lie in wait, just like one's own home.
Wow. The 4 states of loss.
Yeah.
Like rebirth in difficult realms, hell realms, animal realms, that kind of thing.
That's generally how it's understood, yes. Unfavorable rebirths resulting from carelessness in practice. Saying it's like your own home implies it's an almost certain destination if you're negligent.
That's intense.
Yeah.
Strong motivator. And does he just tell them this, or does he lead by example?
Oh, he leads by example. He declares he will practice in only 3 postures, meaning he won't lie down. He says, I will not stretch out my back for the entire 3 months.
3 months without lying down. That's extreme dedication.
It is. The other monks, they respectfully agree with his points and wish him well with his intense vow. Be vigilant, venerable sir, they say.
So he commits to this incredibly rigorous practice. 3 postures only. How does that work out for him?
Well, not quite as planned, physically speaking. After the first month of this no lying down, presumably very little sleep, he develops a serious eye disease.
Oh no, after just 1 month.
Yeah. The description is quite graphic. Showers of tears flowed forth from his eyes like water flowing from a pot with a hole.
Yikes. That sounds incredibly painful. Does he stop practicing?
Nope. He pushes through the pain. He keeps up his duties all night, only going to his room at dawn. Incredible willpower.
But surely the other monks noticed. Constant tears.
They did. When he's out on the alms round, they see the tears streaming and ask him, Venerable sir, what's wrong? What is this?
And what does he say? Does he admit how bad it is?
He tries to downplay it at first, says his eyes are just stung by the wind.
Ah, the tough guy approach.
Kind of. But the other monks aren't really buying it, or maybe they're just concerned. They remember the doctor who offered help at the beginning.
Right, the helpful doctor.
So they suggest, look, maybe you should talk to that doctor, and the elder agrees.
Okay, so he finally seeks help. What does the doctor do?
The monks go tell the doctor the elder's got this eye problem. The doctor cooks up some oil and sends it over.
Oil for his eyes. Okay, maybe some kind of soothing preparation.
You'd think maybe eye drops, right?
Yeah.
But the elder applies it in a really unusual way. He sits down and pours the oil into his nose.
Into his nose. For an eye problem, that's unexpected.
Very nasal application.
Right.
After doing this, he just continues his routine, goes into town for alms.
Okay. Does the doctor see him? Does he ask about it?
Yes, the doctor sees him later and asks, "So, venerable sir, is the wind still piercing your eyes?" The elder says, "Yes, it is."
Uh-oh.
Then the doctor asks, "Did you use that oil I sent? Could you put it in your nose like, well, nasally?"
And the elder confirms.
He says, "Yes, he did."
So the doctor's final question must be,
"Now, how is it?"
and the elder's reply,
"Still hurting, lay follower."
oh, wow. So the extreme practice leads to a physical ailment, and the prescribed, albeit strangely applied, remedy doesn't work. That leaves us hanging a bit.
It certainly does. And it brings up some really key themes from this whole section, doesn't it?
Definitely. You've got those two fundamental duties laid out so clearly: study and insight.
Yeah.
A real choice of path.
And Mahapala's self-awareness and choosing insight based on his capacity. That's powerful.
Then there's the elder's intense dedication, which is admirable in one way, but it leads to suffering. It really highlights that need for diligence, but maybe also wisdom in the diligence.
Exactly. The importance of effort is stressed, but the story almost serves as maybe a cautionary tale about extreme asceticism potentially backfiring, or at least not considering the body's limits. Where's the middle way, you know?
Right. It's fascinating how these ancient texts grapple with things we still think about: focus, commitment, finding balance, the relationship between mind and body. It makes you, the listener, think, doesn't it?
It really does. We see the path of study, deep intellectual engagement. We see the path of insight, intense personal practice. Which one feels more like your natural inclination when it comes to learning or growth?
Yeah, that's a great question. And then thinking about the elder, his commitment is incredible, but was it ultimately skillful? Did it serve his well-being in the pursuit of liberation? It raises questions about self-care and sustainability, even on a spiritual path.
Lots to ponder there. We definitely encourage you, if you're intrigued, to look further into the Cakkhupāla Theravada or related Buddhist teachings. There's clearly a lot of depth.
Absolutely. A lot to mull over about diligence, balance, and the different ways to approach understanding.